name's Rob and I'm from Team Hope. Been thinking about our bodies recently. They are truly amazing things. I love learning new things about the body. Because it's so complex, there's always things to learn. Now here's an example. How many senses do we have? 5? That's the usual answer. Sight, hearing, smelling, tasting and touching. But did you know there's actually a 6th sense? Now I'm not talking about the twilight zone here. This is a real sense. It's called kinesthesia. It's referred to as a meta-sense. It's the body's ability to sense its position and movement in the space that surrounds it. Now I'm going to give you a little demonstration here. Little bottle. Ping pong ball on top. Oops. I'll put it out about here. I'm going to be genuine in this because you're welcome to try it yourself. I'm closing my eyes. My eyes are now closed. I've memorised where that ping pong ball is. I've got my right arm, my right finger, and I'm going to do my best to just hit the ping pong ball only to knock it off the bottle. Whoa, that's the closest I've ever got. We'll try it again. That means I'm very clever. Wave my hand over my head. We've shifted slightly to the right, my right. I was genuinely trying to get the ball. As soon as I shifted it, I couldn't do it. Now I'm going to show you kinesthesia. And you can try this too. Shut my eyes, wave my hand all over without any problem at all. I'll touch the tip of my nose. Right. Left hand. Now go on, give it a try. I learned about that we have sensory neurons in our muscles and our tendons and joints, and even parts of our inner ear enable us to do that. It's something incredible I didn't know, and I love learning new things all the time. I learned it recently. I wonder what else about our bodies. There's so much to learn. I learned that we can take it for granted. Here's some things you may not know, and maybe you'll see this every time you look in the mirror and realise that when you look in the mirror, you're looking at a miracle. Our blood is a good example of a miracle. It sustains our body. It transports through our body with our veins, and our arteries and our capillaries, very small little blood vessels. The blood has oxygen. We need oxygen for life. It goes through all parts of the body. Oxygenated blood is pumped from the heart away through the arteries, all parts of the body, and returns through the veins, through the lungs to be reoxygenated, and then back to the heart. Now the capillaries are very small and take blood to the body outside of the veins and arteries. Blood also contains antibodies to fight infection and to remove carbon dioxide. And our blood transports waste to the kidneys and the digestive system. Our blood is a miracle. The vessels that transport our blood are miracles. There's a thing at the base of our brain called the blood-brain barrier, and it stops contaminated blood that still has carbon dioxide or waste products in it from getting into our brain. No one's quite sure how that works. It's a very unique blocking system. Keep the brain safe from damage from these particles that could be harmful to it. When I think about that, I think, well, this is just getting too amazing. Do you know your smallest blood vessels, which we've talked about called capillaries, have a diameter about 1/10 the size of a human hair? Now if you joined all of your veins and arteries and capillaries together, how far do you think it would go? Do you think it would go, you make 100 metres or 500 metres? The total length of the veins, arteries and capillaries in the average human body is 96,500 kilometres. One body. And that can go 2.5 times around the world. Your veins and blood vessels and arteries are a miracle. Your heart is a miracle. Now we're going to talk average figures here. There are variables. A female heart will beat about 8 beats per minute faster than a male. And it depends if we're working or exercising, if we're athletes, what time of day it is, waking, sleeping. So the figures we'll look at now are average figures. Now the average pulse rate is about 80 beats per minute. So that means in one day your heart is going to beat 100,000 times. In your life, your heart will beat 2.5 billion times. Each beat, your miraculous heart pumps about 70 mils, about this much. Every time you feel that pulse rate go, boom, your heart is pumping about that much. That means in 1 minute, your heart will pump this much. Well, no, be more. This much. No, there'll be more. This much. More. This much. More. We have to make a bit of space because every minute, that's about the average heart, how much blood it will pump. In a lifetime, the human heart pumps an average of 400 million litres. That's over 1 million oil barrels, or enough to fill up 3 super tankers, or 70 Olympic swimming pools. Or if you left the kitchen tap on full blast, you'd have to leave it on for 45 years to have the same quantity as what the heart would pump in a lifetime. One calculation was done on a woman who lived to be 80 years of age. Her heart would pump enough blood to fill 100 Olympic swimming pools. We've had a try at making artificial hearts. The one that's lasted the longest went for 1,073 days. That's all it could last. Human hearts can last 100 years, day and night. They keep going without stopping. Your heart is a miracle. Your brain is a miracle. Only weighs about between 1.36 and 1.45 kilos. When you lift a kilo of Marge out of the fridge, it's nearly, not quite, the same weight as your brain. The brain requires a lot of oxygen. About 20% of the oxygen we use is dedicated to our brain. Over 1 litre of blood goes to the brain every minute. Over half the brain is fat. Now neurons are hard to count, they're brain cells. They're hard to count because they're so small. Our research showed a variance about how many neurons or brain cells are in each brain, but on average it's recognised between 86 billion, not million, billion, even perhaps 90 billion in every human brain. We'll say 86 billion. Now, each neuron has about 7,000 synaptic connections, that's electrical connections, to other neurons. A synapse is a connection between neurons, and there's a lot of connections. It's over 600 trillion, or if you look on your screen, you can see there the number of 86 billion neurons and 602 trillion synapses, all into one brain. Whenever you have a thought or take a simple action, electrical impulses flash between neurons in your brain, and they do so at a speed of over 430 kilometres an hour. Those electrical impulses are generated by chemical reactions in your brain. Each second, your brain is having 100,000 chemical reactions. Every day, your brain is having between 50,000 and 70,000 thoughts. There's about, again there's some variance here, but about 700 kilometres of blood vessel in your brain alone. Now, if you're an Australian, you would say that would be the difference between Adelaide and Melbourne. 700 kilometres of blood vessels just in your brain. They say that the human brain has a memory capability equal to 9,766 iPhones. I don't know how they work that out, but the brain's incredible. The brain is a miracle. The heart is a miracle. The blood vessels are miracles. Your eyes are miracles. The brain is the most complex organ in the body. The eye is the second most complex. The eye has 200 million functioning parts. Our eyes can detect over 10 million different colours. Light from an image that you might be looking at, the image of me on your screen, comes through the cornea, out of there of the eye, enters the eye through the iris, that's a little black part in the middle, through the pupil, and then the iris, the coloured part, is the part that expands and contracts the opening of the pupil. You know, like you'd walk into bright sunlight and straight away they jump into action, cut out all that light flooding in. Passes through the lens in the eye, which we use to focus, and goes onto the back of the eye, which is called the retina. Cells there respond to those light signals coming in. They're called photoreceptors. Each of your eyes has 6 million cone cells just for detecting colours. And each eye also has 100 million rod cells for low light levels that don't detect colour. 80% of the brain's processing is for vision. Only the cornea doesn't have any blood vessels. You are a miracle. There's so much more we could consider. You're a miracle. We dream, we laugh, we sing. We can create music and enjoy music, and the same with art and books. We love to do these things. Now I want to change gears for a moment, and I need to tell you, I want to focus on the animal world. And I have a real love of animals. If there's an animal documentary on TV, I am there. I really enjoy that. I had a great moment a couple of years ago. I went with my family down to a town called Victor Harbor. It's about 80 kilometres from Adelaide. And we went to a beach called Kings Beach. And there were 2 or 3 whales playing in the bay. And we had a grandstand up-close view. And hundreds of people got there, and every time the whale leapt out of the water and smashed, everyone's clapping. And I loved it. I love that sort of thing. When I was a young boy, I had a dog, a little black and tan terrier. His name was Toby. I loved him. As much as I love animals like Toby, and we all love, I'm sure, most of us love animals, we can't avoid this fact. There is a huge gulf between what we are capable of and what animals are able to do. Chimps use sticks to catch ants. We use highly complex tools that we make ourselves. Animals can't read or write or talk in words. It's believed they have languages to do with tones and things like that. They can't play musical instruments. They can't invent things. They can't use complex maths. They can't use simple maths. They can't build complicated buildings or make transport vehicles. I believe, this is my personal belief, that animals can show love. You know, I love Toby, and I reckon he loved me. And we had another dog for our son, Snowy. She was a golden Labrador. And Snowy, I remember once my son had a difficult day, and I said, well, mate, at least Snowy loves you. And he looked at me and he said, Dad, Snowy loves everybody. You know, they can be very affectionate and really enjoyable. But the bottom line is there's this huge gap between us and animals. The Bible has a clear revelation on this. God created all creatures, but only one was created in his image, us. The first book in the Bible says this, and you have to admit, you know, we get amazed when we see a chimp poking a stick in a hole and fishing out an ant. That's as complicated as it gets for a chimp. And I love watching it. That's it. We are way out in front of the pack when it comes to the animals on this planet. Now, sadly, we can't ignore another reality, and the Bible won't let us do it, and we have to admit it. Something has gone wrong with us. As complex as we are, as clever as we are in a state of malfunction. The animals haven't pranged things up like we have. Why? We should know better. We're a lot smarter, we're a lot more intelligent, and we're doing all this damage. I mean, we've just been thinking about how wonderfully made we are. We're so amazing in the way we're put together. We're capable of doing so much better, and yet we don't. Sometimes we do achieve really remarkable and special things, but a lot of the time we don't. We're the only creature that willfully destroys the environment, the only one who spends so much of our resources on weapons and war, when so many of us are starving. We're the only one who is involved in widespread aggression and violence, also known as war. Now, I can't sweep this under the rug. We can't ignore it. The Bible won't let me ignore it, and I have to say, and I have to admit it to myself, we all do. Something's gone wrong with us. We're doing things we should know better. But I want to go back to that miracle that is you, the miracle in the mirror. King David wrote a lot of songs that are recorded for us in the Bible, a lot of poems in the book of Psalms. He just had that unique gift, that unique call on his life to be able to express the heart of God. And a lot of the time he did it with music. We have the words to some of his songs in the Bible. In one of his songs he said that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. Now remember, he didn't have access to the technology that we have and all the things I've shared with you. Didn't know about any of that, but he knew that we were incredibly made, that we were a miracle. And that was an insight from God's heart. I think we get the wonderfully made bit when I talk about the things I've shared with you today, but fearfully, I mean, what's that all about? You see, the Jews, and King David, who wrote it, was a Jew, had a different take on fearfully than we do. The word is yoreh, and it means something so incredibly awesome that it can take your breath away. That's how we're made. It was their way of saying, you are a breathtaking miracle. If you feel like you've lost your way, I want to encourage you. I don't know if you have access to a Bible. You do on a phone, if you've got a phone. Just look up Psalm 139. It's got some very special things to say about the person you are. Here's some other things the Bible says. You were born for a reason, to do a work that only you can do. And Jesus can transform you and have a very real impact on you. He can transform your life into the person you were always meant to be. He can restore you to the person you were meant to be. Isn't that great? Because a lot of us think, well, why am I here? What am I doing on this planet? And we see that the very real impact of God's love, we can find our way into the person we were meant to be. This world has gone crazy. Again, you don't need me to tell you that. In the middle of it all, here we are, incredible miracles, with all the fighting, all the crime, all the family breakdown, what the cost of living pressures, the war. Don't ever forget, you're a miracle. And here's the thing, if you've lost your way in life, Jesus can restore you. So the next time you look in a mirror, why not say, you're a breathtaking miracle, because you are. Yes, you haven't hidden from the fact that something's gone wrong, but God can make it right. And you're not just a blob that happened to be. Think about the things I've shared with you, the miraculous things. You joined all your blood vessels together, they would go 2.5 times around the world. You're a miracle. You were always meant to be. Have a think about these things. My name's Rob, and I'm from Team Hope.